Good morning everyone and welcome to this morning's webinar. For those of you who have just joined, we have already completed a sound check. If you need to increase the volume, you can do so on your phone, or if you're using the mic and speakers option, you can increase the volume on your computer. Okay, so today's webinar is called Introducing BrightPay Payroll and Auto-Enrollment Software, and essentially it is an online demo for bookkeepers, accountants and payroll bureaus. BrightPay are running a series of webinars surrounding auto-enrollment, and these are specifically designed for bureaus who have payroll clients. Auto-enrollment is providing the perfect platform for bureaus to offer some real value-added service to their clients and increase profits. Today's webinar will demonstrate how you can use BrightPay to streamline auto-enrollment and automate your clients' auto-enrollment duties. So if you have any questions throughout today's webinar, you can type questions into the Questions tab at the right of the screen on the control panel. We will have a Q&A session at the end of the webinar and we'll try to get through as many questions as possible. Today we are also running a free competition for attendees who stay for the entire webinar, and we are giving away 2 free BrightPay 15/16 Bureau licenses, and details of the winners will be emailed out to everyone afterwards. Today's webinar is also being recorded, so this email will also include a link to the recording of the webinar and a number of links that you may find useful. Victoria Clark is our support manager here at BrightPay, and she will be presenting today's webinar to you. So I'll now pass you over to Vicky. Okay, so thanks everyone.
So good morning everybody, and many thanks for joining us this morning. So here is our agenda for this morning's webinar, which I hope you'll find informative and give you plenty of food for thought. So for the first part of the demonstration, I will just be showing you how to set up a payroll, so how to set up your employer details, and then how to enter employees as well as directors. And then moving on, I'll then talk you through how to process payroll in BrightPay, so how to create and enter your various pay items, how to process a pay period and submit your RTI returns. And then we'll be looking just at the analysis and reporting function associated with that. For the latter part of the demonstration, I'll then be concentrating on automatic enrolment with you. So how to, for example, enter your staging date, how to set up your pension scheme, the assessment of employees, and then how to enroll or postpone employees, how BrightPay handles opt-out requests and refunds, also the communication side of things, how BrightPay can handle batch processing for you with employees, and also any relevant enrolment and contribution files. And then we'll just be looking then at the analysis and reporting functionality associated with the automatic enrolment. So we'll get started without delay. So just to speed things up for you here, I have the software already installed. The software itself is actually installed by going to our website, which is www.brightpay.co.uk. With a click of a few buttons, the software will download for you and place a desktop icon there for you to access the software going forward. I have a couple of companies already set up here, again, just to speed things up this morning. But for yourselves, where you're starting from scratch, you'll be simply going to the new employer option at the bottom of this screen. So this is now going to guide you through a setup wizard. So I'm going to click on Next. And BrightPay can be used in 3 ways. So first of all, you can instruct BrightPay to start at the beginning of the tax year for you. You can also request it to start partway in the tax year. So if you are a new entity setting up and it's partway through the year, that would be the option you would be choosing here. Or you'll finally begin the option to continue partway in the tax year, and this would be the option you would be using if you decide to migrate from another payroll package mid-tax year and you have employee and mid-year cumulative pay information to bring across. So it would be this third option here that you would select. So for the purpose of the demo this morning, I'm just going to start at the beginning of the tax year, and I'm simply going to click on Next. So the next few screens are just going to ask you for your basic employer information. I'm just going to use a little cheat key here. Okay, and just to fill in some dummy employer information. So there's my employer name and address completed, and on the next screen you'll then just ask for your employer registration, so your HMRC office name, your POAE reference, your accounts office reference. it is optional at this stage, but for order for you to be able to submit your RTI submissions, we will need this in. So I'm just going to fill in a number here for us. That's okay. And then some additional information, you're asked whether you qualify for small employers relief, and if you operate a contracted pension scheme, for you to enter your ECON number here. BrightPay allows employees to be allocated to departments. So if you wish to have departments in the payroll, this is where they can be set up. And one of the key features of BrightPay is that employees can be allocated to multiple departments across in any one pay period. So you would simply fill in your department names here, for example, and click on Next. You'll then ask for typical employee settings. This is, again, is just to speed things up for you. So you can set up default settings here, and that every time you go and set up an employee record, by default these will be the settings that flow through for you. So for example, if you always, say the majority of your employees are paid on a weekly basis, you can set weekly to be the typical pay frequency, for example, and typical pay method, for example, check, etc. Okay. On the next screen then, if you are in receipt of your staging date for automatic enrolment, or have already staged, your staging date can be entered at this stage. Or alternatively, if you don't have it to hand or you're not sure what it is, you can skip this stage and enter it at a later date. So we'll just continue on here. The next screen then asks you to set up a password, if you wish, just to password protect the employer file. So just enter your password if you wish to do so. And on the following screen then, you're just asked if you would like, just asked where you wish to save your employer file to. So the way BrightPay operates, the software itself would sit locally on your own machine, and then you then have a choice in where you save your employer file. So if you are in a multi-user environment, for example, this your employer files can be saved, for example, to a server location, a network, or a cloud environment for shared access. So I'm just going to save my employer file here. And my test company is now set up, and I'm in the employer file here. So it's now open for me. So you might be presented with 7 tab headings across the top here. Sorry. So just to view, edit, or add further employer information into your BrightPay, you simply click into the employer utility here. So you'll see here I can find the information I've just set up at the setup stage. And as you just click through the screens, you can actually add further information in. So for example, your corporation tax reference, if you're using direct backs, your back service user number, for example. So extra information can be filled in. Here you'll also find your typical employee settings again, should you wish to amend them. And most importantly is the RTI submission section here. This is where you'll need to come just to enter your sender ID and password, so your user credentials, in order for you to be able to submit your RTI submissions. So I'm just going to fill in some test credentials here. Okay, and save the changes. Across the top you'll find a number of, what we refer to as employer items. And this basically means that anything you set up here within the employer utility, be it an hourly rate, a daily rate, addition type, deduction type, it means then that those items that you've set up will be available for selection across all employees. So again, it speeds things up so that on each employee pay, you don't have to be individually setting up the, for example, hourly rates again on an individual level. So for example, I could just set up here an hourly rate, for example, £20, and then you can indicate as well whether it's to be an overtime rate or not. Okay. Daily rates work exactly the same way, and then if we just click into addition types here, we've preset a number of, I suppose, the most commonly used addition types that you probably will come across. So for example, if I choose bonus here, when you're setting up addition types, it will then ask the user to basically to state whether they are allowed for tax, NIC and pension scheme deductions as well. So you can see here with the bonus we have the 2 buttons ticked there. But to set up a new one, you simply click on New. Let's say mileage, for example, and then nothing to be deducted there. If there's a default amount that you wish to always apply, that can be also entered here. And you can also set the repetition of any addition and deduction type. So is the addition to be applicable to one pay period only, or do you like it to be repeated until you manually choose to remove it once it's been allocated to an employee's payslip, for example? Let me click on Save there. We also cater for savings schemes, and also one of the key features of BrightPay as well is that you can actually enter unlimited employer bank accounts. So if you pay from more than one bank account, they can be set up side by side in BrightPay here. You'll simply click on Add New Bank Account. Okay, so basic information, there's some dummy information. And if we just click under Bank Payment File Format here, you'll see these are all the different types of bank files that we support. So for example, say in this example it's Barclays, we'll just select Barclays there and save the record. And simply click on New to add further bank accounts in should you have more than one employer bank account. Okay, so that's your employer details entered. So the next step would be to actually set up your employee details, and that's done within the employee's utility here. So employee details can be set up in 2 ways. First of all, you can manually enter employee details, or if you have employee details saved to a CSV file, then they can also be imported quite quickly into BrightPay using that CSV file. So I'll show you both ways. So first of all, we'll set up an employee manually. So all you do is click on Add New Employee, and you'll be presented again with just 6 tab headings, and basically it's just a case of working through each section and completing accordingly. So again, just to speed things up, I'm just going to use a little cheat key here to set up some dummy information. Okay, so the personal screen is just going to ask you for basic employee details, name, address, gender, date of birth, etc. Again, if you would like to email payslips or at the end of the year the P60 to an employee, then this is the place you would come to add their email address in. Okay, and I can save that record. Under the employment section then, this will ask for a works number if required, and also this is where you will allocate an employee to a department or departments if applicable. So if I just click here and I'll allocate my employee here to 2 departments. So you can see here I can also set the weighting as well. So it could be that she does 60% in one department and 40% in another. And that would then facilitate then if I do any departmental analysis in BrightPay, it will allocate 6% of the cost to admin and 40% to sales. And within the employment screen as well, this is where you will set the employee's leave year and also decide on their annual leave entitlement method here. So there's various options here for that, and also how many leave days are entitled to, etc. Under Start a Leaver, you can record their start date and it can be outside of the tax year. And under the payment section then, this is where you are going to allocate the employee's pay frequency. So if we just click on the little drop-down arrow there, you'll see that we cater for 6 pay frequencies. So weekly, fortnightly, 4-weekly, monthly, quarterly and yearly. So simply select as required. So I'll leave my employee on weekly here. You can then select whether they're to be paid a basic rate, a daily rate or hourly rate. So again, we'll just leave it as a weekly rate here. And then hourly rates and daily rates can also be added in as well. You'll then ask for payment details. So for the payment method, it can be cash, cheque or credit transfer. I'm just going to quickly just set up, again, just some dummy information so I can show you the bank file a little later on. example there. Okay, moving on to the tax, NIC and RTI section. This is where the employee's tax code details will be entered, and also their national insurance table. And there is a little help guide here if you're not sure, like a little checklist to help you determine what the national insurance table should be. Okay. Again, if the employee is liable for student loans, it's simply a tick box here, and you can enter the start date and stop date of that student loan if you have that information. National insurance number will also be entered in this screen, as you can see here. In the same section of the employee record here, this is simply where you'll come if the employee is a director, and again, it's just a little tick box. So if the employee is a director, simply ticked to instruct the software of this. And then if there's any start of directorship date or end of directorship you need to enter, you can do so accordingly here using the calendar. By default, with regard to directors' NIC, BrightPay will apply the annual basis for the NIC calculation. However, if you wish the director to be on the alternate method, then simply tick the box provided here. Okay. For your full payment submissions, you'll then find a number of items that need to be filled in for the FPS, for example, the payroll ID. This is automatically generated by BrightPay when you're setting up an employee record. However, if you are migrating from another software provider, it would be important to use the same payroll ID that was used in the software for that employee. You'll then just ask what the employee's contracted hours per week are. So again, you have the various criteria there to select from. And then if the employee is going to be on an irregular payment pattern, you can indicate that here, and also whether they're flexibly accessing their pension rights as well. Finally, on the employee record, you have a HR section, which can be completed as required. So again, basic information. And should you wish payslips and the P60 to be password protected, this is where you would enter your password in. So that's my employee record completed. I simply click on Save, and my employee is now set up and added to my listing. So if you're going ahead and manually setting up your employee details, you'll simply click on New Employee at the top and repeat the process again. If, however, you want to bring in your employee details via CSV file, that can be done quite easily. And all you would need to do is simply go to the File heading, Import Export Data, and select the option to import employees from a CSV file. So I have one set up here already. So you simply select your file here, and all you do for every column, you simply select what it represents. So for example here, that would be title, that's name, surname, etc. Again, just to speed things up again for us today, I already have my columns allocated, but a useful little tool is under the Options heading here, where you can actually instruct BrightPay to try and match the columns to your head and row titles for you. You can see here that I have matched 43 of 43 to my header rows. So once completed, I'm just going to uncheck that row there. You simply click on Import, and my employees have been successfully imported and they've been added to my listing. So if you do have a CSV file, if you're able to export employee information out of an existing package and you're moving to BrightPay, then we can facilitate that quick import into BrightPay, again, saving time for yourselves. So I now have my employees set up, so I'm now ready to process some payroll. So I'll now be accessing the payroll utility here. So before you can get started, BrightPay will just ask you to set up your schedules. So in this particular test company here, I have employees set up to be on a weekly pay frequency and some on a monthly pay frequency. So I'm just asked to set up, first of all, my weekly schedule, and BrightPay requires two pieces of information: what your pay date is going to be for the very first pay period you're processing, and for when you're paying for. So for example, my first weekly pay date will be the 10th, and it could be that I am paying for the week before. I'm a week in arrears, for example, so I can set that accordingly. And again, I'm then asked for my monthly schedule. I can do a quick preview here just to make sure that I have the correct number of weeks and months that I require, and then press continue. Okay, so I'm now into my payroll here, and all the little tiles across the top represent each individual week and underneath each individual month. So the very first screen I'm presented with when I access the payroll utility is the payroll preview. So it's a quick overview of each employee there and what their gross POE and IC and their net pay is looking like. Some people like to print this, and that can be done under the More heading by selecting the Print Export Summary option at the bottom there. To actually process an employee's payslip, so just to amend an employee's payslip, simply select the employee from the listing and you'll be taken through to their payslip view. So BrightPay will pull in the information that you entered in the employee record by default. However, an unlimited amount of pay items can be added to an employee's payslip. So these pay items can be more weekly pay, they can be an hourly pay or a daily payment, and then any number of additions and deductions. So there's no limit to how many items you add to a pay slip there. Statutory payments can also be set up, and we also cater for attachment orders, which I'll show you in a little while there. Okay, but if I was to add, for example, a couple of additions, simply select from the listing if I've already got them set up. For example. Okay, and it may be that I want an addition, so I can actually set the additions up here too. So it could be, for example, a lottery. It could be, say, £5, and I want it to repeat until manually removed. Okay, and that will add to the listing. Where you see a little spanner symbol next to a pay item, that means that there is increased functionality regarding that pay item. So for example, if I click on the bonus there, I can see here that this particular employee is allocated to 2 departments. Now it could be that that bonus is purely for sales, from the sales department, so I can actually amend the departmental weightings accordingly here. I can also set the repetition of the addition. For example, it might be something that I want to repeat for maybe another 3 weeks, and I can set it so that it repeats for that length of time. So I don't have to remember to remove it myself. And also I can reorder my additions and deductions accordingly. So it could be that I just want this one just to be moved down slightly, so that when I generate and print the payslip, this will be the order of the additions that will flow through. Notes can also be added to an employee's payslip, and also you can write a note, like an employer note, so it will only appear on this screen, it won't physically print on the payslip, it will be for screen view only. Okay. Over on the right hand side, this is a live calculation, so if you amend any pay item or add, it will update automatically for you, so there's no save button as such that you need to be clicking there. Just moving on to my next employee then, this is somebody paid by the hour, so I can simply add in the number of hours here, and then add further hourly pays as required. And you can see here, if I just simply click on the hourly rate, I can then convert it into time and a half, double time, etc. Or if I have any employer rates set up, I can select those too. Okay. My next employee here is somebody who's paid a daily rate, so it's pulling in 5 days here because I've got her to be working 5 days per week in the calendar there. So simply work through the employee payslips, and when complete, you'll be going to finalize payslips on the menu bar. And if you want to update everybody all at the same time, simply click on OK. If, however, you're still waiting maybe, for example, for timesheets, or you're just not able to process a number of employees, you can actually select those employees that you want to finalise and leave the others, leave the other payslips still open. So I can click on OK here, and the employees who have been finalised will have green ticks against their name, and I can see that that I have a number of pay slips still open there. And I can then at a later date come in here and update those accordingly. Okay. Once you've finalised your pay slips, you have a number of options for the pay slips. So you can either print them for the employees, you can email them or export them to PDF. So if we just take a look at the print pay slips option here. So just looking at the pay slip types that we cater for. So you don't require pay slip stationery with BrightPay. You can actually print pay slips to blank A4 paper. So the most common option will be the 2 per page, so 2 pay slips will print per A4 blank paper. We then cater for an A5 blank where the pay slip prints in landscape format. If, however, you do like to use pay slip stationery, we do have our own, and we cater for a 2 per page A4 stationery, which is a perforated stationery type, and they work with window envelopes. And we also then offer an A4 security style pay slip there, which is a sheet all-in-one that will seal for you. Anybody migrating from Sage or Iris to BrightPay, we are compatible with the following pay slips as well. So if you haven't, some pay slips left over, we can facilitate the printing to these as well. Okay. With the pay slips, the user is given the option to customize the pay slips to suit their own needs. So if you click on the options button here, you can see that you have a little bit of flexibility on what shows. So for example, you may want the employer address to show, or if you have a company logo, to actually have the company logo show on the pay slip. Maybe that you don't want to show payment method, for example. So you can select accordingly from the listing as to what you require. So if I just do a print preview here, you can see the pay slips are now displayed on screen for me. And I simply click print there to print them out. Should you wish to email payslips, simply select the email payslips option here. So only those employees for whom you have email addresses entered will appear in your listing. And again, the user can customize what appears on the payslip when emailed. Okay. So simply enter a reply to address in here and click send email. And they are now queued and will be sent shortly to the employees in question. Okay. Should you wish to export the pay slips to PDF, for example, then the export pay slips option is where you'll be coming. And again, as per the print pay slips and email pay slips, you will be given the option just to customize what appears on those pay slips for you. So simply select where you wish to export to, click on export, and that will complete the process for you. Okay. Under pay employees, this is where you can get a breakdown of your payments. So if you have employees, for example, to be paid by cash, you'll get a cash breakdown displayed on screen. Anybody who's to be paid by check, you will also get your check payments report here. And then anyone who's on credit transfer, you'll be able to view or print your credit transfer report here too. Should you wish to pay your employees using a bank, like a bank file, so electronic transfer as such, you'll be selecting the bank file option here. And you'll see here this will pull in my employer bank account details, which I've set up in the employer utility. So I simply select my details accordingly, click on Save File, save the file, and that file is now ready for upload into your banking software facility there. So quite straightforward. You'll see here now that now I've finalised my payslips, so number 1 has appeared in my RTI section. So if I just click into RTI here and select my full payment submission, as soon as you finalise any pay period, BrightPay will automatically create your full payment submission for you, and the contents of this can be displayed on screen here. All SPSs and all RTI returns can be printed and exported as you wish. Okay. I'm a little bit late with my submission here because I'm in a test environment, so I will just need to select, a late reporting reason there. But if you have all your user credentials entered correctly, all you'll need to do is click on Send Now. Yeah, there we go. We're in a test environment here, but then I get the acknowledgement that it's been sent to HMRC and also accepted by HMRC with the date and time stamp. Okay, so that's your RTI submission sent through to HMRC. So returning to the payroll, you simply then click into the following pay period and continue processing your payroll. There is added functionality under the More heading with regards to payroll. So for example, if you wish to import pay records using CSV file format, BrightPay facilitates that. So for example, if you wish to import weekly, daily or hourly payments, for example, or additions, deductions and notes. There's also the functionality to be able to zeroize payslips. So if you like to zeroize your payslips every pay period and start afresh, the option is there for you. And again, a few options here just to speed things up. So if you have, for example, a particular addition or deduction that you wish to allocate across a number of employee payslips, you can do that quite quickly. We also cater here further down for switching employees' pay frequency as well. So you may have somebody on weekly payroll who may wish to be switched to monthly. So this provides a seamless switch for you there. Okay. If somebody had an attachment order, these can be added to an employee's payslip quite easily. So simply click on Add and select the attachment order option. And all you'll do is click on Add Attachment Order. So you'll see there on screen we cater for a number of attachment orders. And if there isn't one here in the listing here, you can use the other attachment order to set up the details of the one you have. So just as a test example here, I'll just use the council tax. Okay, just enter some dummy dates in. Okay, and then to enter the amount and status. So you've been given the option to indicate whether it's a priority order or not, and whether there's qualifying earnings to enter, and whether you wish to charge the £1 admin fee there. So you can tick the box. I'll just say it's £1,000 in total. And when I save that, you'll see it now flowing through onto the employee's payslip quite seamlessly for you. Okay. Statutory payments as well are catered for in BrightPay. So should anybody be going, for example, out on maternity leave, paternity leave, shared parental leave, for example, or if they're out sick, BrightPay can facilitate the recording of that. So all you would do is simply click on the calendar option and simply select the employee's start of leave date. So I'll just say it is the 10th of April here. Sorry, let's make it, yeah, that's fine. And then if I select parenting leave here, you'll see the various options available. Okay, so I'll say she's going on maternity leave here. Let me just backdate this slightly here and click on Save. Okay, so just by entering a few dates, the calendar will be completed for the employee, so I can see the length of time she'll be out on the maternity leave. And when I return to the employee's payslip, just need to just override this because I just don't have enough historical information to calculate the average weekly earnings. But you can see there, just with a click of a button, the employee's statutory maternity pay will flow through accordingly for you. And again, I simply finalise payslips. And that's my pay period updated. And again, it's automatically created my full payment submission here. As you continue to process payroll, the HMRC Payments tab here will keep a continuous track of what you owe in tax and NIC. So you can see that maternity pay, for example, is flowing through. And at the end of a tax month or quarter, depending on how often you remit to HMRC, depending on your schedule, the software will prompt me as well. I'll just pop a date in here, when I'm due to do an EPS. So if I have statutory payments to recover, I will get the prompt to say that these are now outstanding. Okay, so if I go into my RTI section here, my EPS has been generated for me, and I can quickly click on Send Now. Okay, just returning to the payroll screen, if corrections are needed to earlier pay periods, they can be completed quite seamlessly. So if I just click into maybe this period here and reopen payslip, so I may just want to make a change, say, to this employee's payslip that I made a mistake. So I can reopen her payslip here. I can make my change. So for example, I didn't enter the correct pay amount, and I can finalize the payslips back up. Okay. Now, where I have already submitted a full payment submission for that pay period, BrightPay won't generate another full payment submission with the corrections in, because one has already been received for the period. But what BrightPay does allow the user to do is an additional full payment submission, basically to report any interim changes to an employee's year-to-date figures. And that's facilitated by going to New and Additional FPS, and you can simply select the employee you made the change to, click on OK, and submit to HMRC. Okay. At any time, you will have the analysis function here, which can be used to either generate some preset reports or to actually create your own reports based on your needs. So you'll see here, if I click into the analysis section, just across the top here, we have some favourite reports already programmed in for you. So probably the most commonly used payroll reports, for example, the payroll summary. So you can select accordingly. You can then tell BrightPay the period you wish to view. So it can be a date range, for example, or just the current week, and also then what you wish to include in the report. We're then given the option to select the employees who are to appear in your report, and also then the criteria. So what fields do you wish to be in there for you? So I can click on Run Report, and my report is generated on the screen for you. A nice feature with BrightPay is that you can have a number of reports open at the same time. So if you then wanted an hourly pay report, for example, I can have those side by side, and maybe the statutory pay report there as well. Okay. Should you require a different report and wish to create your own, for example, then the new report option is used instead, and you have complete flexibility over what appears in your reports. So again, you can specify the period type that you require, and also from and to, and then who is to appear in it. So, for example, I might just want to remove that person there, for example. You can then choose what criteria to appear in your report. So I can clear all the criteria down and say, okay, I just want name, surname, and national insurance numbers. If I click on OK and run report, I just get the criteria that I have specified. If it's a report that you would like to use again on a regular basis, then the reports can be saved. For example, and you can also make it a favourite report, so it's added to your list at the top, and if I click on save, that report will always be available for selection now going forward. All reports can be printed and also exported to Excel, CSV, clipboard, and PDF as well. Okay. So that completes the first part of the webinar, just on how to set up a payroll and to do your payroll processing. So I'll now just move on to the automatic enrolment functionality in BrightPay. So just bear with me, I'm just going to close this company down and just open one up that I have already set up here. Okay. So with automatic enrolment, everything you'll find within the pensions utility here. Okay, and if I just click on the automatic enrolment option here, so as soon as you have your staging date, then this can be entered in the designated field provided here. And by entering your staging date here, this means that BrightPay knows when to kick in with your on-screen alerts and flags in the correct pay period for you. Okay. Once you have details of your pension scheme as well, these can be set up at any time and can be set up in advance of your staging date. And to set up your pension scheme details, simply click on the Add New Scheme option. So you'll see on screen there that we currently cater for 14 pension providers, and these are Aegon, Aviva, Creative Auto Enrolment, Legal and General, Nest, Now Pensions, The People's Pension, Royal London, Scottish Widows, Simply Auto Enrolment Solutions, Standard Life, Trust Pensions, Wellplan and Workers Pension Trust. Where we don't cater for dedicated pension support, then you can also set up your pension scheme using the other automatic enrolment scheme option here, where you just set up the details of the pension scheme yourself here. Okay, so just for the purpose of the demo today, I'm just going to use Nest as our example. So you'll simply be clicking on the Nest option, and you simply enter your employer reference accordingly. This would be provided by Nest. And on the following screen, simply enter details of your group. So these have to just match exactly how you have them set up with Nest. So for example, it could be that I have a weekly group. On the same screen too, you can set the contribution type, so whether it's the phase minimum contribution rates you wish to use, or the 2018, or whether you wish to customise them yourself. And also for you to set the earnings basis as well, be it standard or again, should you wish to customise these. The option is also here to add further groups. So for example, if you have employees on different pay frequencies, you may have weekly and monthly paid employees, then you can add the further groups in accordingly. Or you may have employees on the same pay frequency but just with different contribution rates. So you may need to set up different groups for those. Once you have your details entered, simply click on Save. Okay, and just to speed things up, I have one already set up here. Okay. So as soon as you reach your staging date in BrightPay, then you'll see that you'll be given these on-screen flags and also these alerts. And this is to now inform you that you have automatic enrolment duties to perform. Okay. As you hit staging, BrightPay will also automatically assess your employees for you. So it will assess whether they are to be eligible job holders, non-eligible job holders, or entitled workers. So you'll see here my first employee is being assessed as an eligible job holder as we hit the staging date. So if I click on View Options, this will take me through to the options available for this work category. So for an eligible job holder, I have the option to enrol them, to postpone them, or to mark as exempt if applicable. So in this instance, we'll enrol my employee. So I simply click on the Enrol button and I select my scheme from the listing. So I'll pop her into Nest here, then select the applicable tax relief option and click the Continue button. And my employee is now enrolled. BrightPay also automatically produces your enrolment letters for you, and these letters can be printed, they can be exported to PDF or emailed directly to an employee from BrightPay. So just for the purpose of the demo, if we just do a print preview here, and you'll see what the enrolment letter looks like here. So this letter is going to detail information about the staging date, what the employee's contribution rates are, how she can opt out should she choose to do so, and also just general information about why she's been enrolled and what it will mean for her. Okay. Once the employee is in receipt of their enrolment letter, simply instruct the software that this has been done for this employee. And you'll see here if I return to my payroll screen, I now have no flags there because I have dealt with my automatic enrolment duties for her at this point. My next employee is being assessed as a non-eligible job holder. So if I click the options to click on review options for this gentleman, for a non-eligible job holder, I'm given slightly different options. So I have the option to print or export a letter inviting him that he has the right to opt in. I then have the option to opt him in should he choose to do so, to postpone him, or to mark as exempt. And likewise, if I just take my next employee, she's been assessed as an entitled worker. So the options available for her are, again, just to write to her, inviting her to join, the join option, should she choose to do so, to postpone, or to mark as exempt. Okay. Now, a useful feature in BrightPay is the ability to batch enroll employees all at the same time, as opposed to doing them all on an individual basis. So you'll see here, if I go to enroll an eligible job holder, I just select the pension scheme. I'm given the option to enroll multiple employees with the same setting. So if I select this option here, I'm then given the listing of all other eligible job holders. So I can simply select those I require and click the Enroll Selected Employees option. Likewise, I can also batch process their enrolment letters. So again, I can print them, I can export them to PDF, or I can email them directly to the employees all in one go. Okay, sorry, just cancel that. And again, I can just mark as done. Again, completing my duties here. Like in batch enrolling, you can also batch postpone employees as well. So should I wish to postpone one employee here, I'll just select the postpone option. I simply enter my deferral date. So I'll say it's the 1st of August, so 3 months after the 1st of May. And should I wish to postpone more employees at the same time, I simply select the option to postpone until the entered date for multiple employees. So again, I can select those I wish to postpone, click OK, and all employees are postponed there. Okay. Again, BrightPay will also automatically generate your postponement letters for you. And again, these can be printed, exported to PDF, or emailed accordingly. And again, all marked as done at the same time. Here, press continue. So if I just return to my payroll screen here, you'll see that all my flags and alerts have now disappeared. So I have now completed all my AE duties at this point in time. For those employees who have been enrolled or have joined or opted in, you will now see their pension contributions flowing through onto their payslip here. And if I finalise the pay period, and just show you a preview of a payslip, you'll see that the pension contributions are also flowing through to the employee's payslip as well. Okay. BrightPay can also handle any opt-out requests that you receive for any employees. And this is done by simply going to the employee's utility. And if you select the employee in question, simply access their automatic enrolment section here. So should you have received an opt-out notice for an employee, simply click the opt-out option here, enter the opt-out reference, okay, press continue, and say yes to opt them out. And if I just return to the payroll screen now, if the employee has already made contributions and she's within the opt-out period, then any contribution she's made already will be refunded on her next open payslip for her, as you can see here. Okay. BrightPay will also produce the enrolment and contribution files where applicable for the pension providers that we offer dedicated support for. So of the 14 that we have here, this means that we can do the contribution files and, where applicable, the enrolment files if required by the pension provider. So for example here, if we just look at Nest, who we have set up already, so to actually generate and submit the enrolment file, you simply click on the enrolment file option here, select the employees you wish to include, click Next, and just with a click of a couple of buttons, simply save the file to a location of your choice and simply log into, in this example, Nest's web portal and upload that file accordingly. After each pay period after staging as well, you are also required just to upload a contributions file as well. And to do that, you simply click on the contributions file option. Just fill in the various information here. Again, just with a click of a few buttons, save the file to a location of your choice and upload into the pension providers portal there. Okay. As you continue to process your payroll, any new employees that you add into the payroll or anybody who maybe, for example, they turn 22, BrightPay will continue to do ongoing monitoring for you with regard to AE. So for example, if I just set up a new employee quite quickly here. Okay, when I reach that point in the payroll, BrightPay will assess that employee for you. So it will do ongoing monitoring of your employees for you there. BrightPay will also continue to remind you of any outstanding communications that you have to employees. So for example, here I have an employee here for whom I must write to inform her about her right to opt in. If you're with a pension provider that's taking care of communications for you, you can actually switch these alerts off, and that's done within the pensions utility. And if you access the automatic enrolment section here, you can simply turn off the reminders here, okay, and save the changes, and you'll be no longer reminded of those communications. In the same utility, once you have also completed your declaration of compliance, you can make a note of the date that was completed as well, and the record saved accordingly. Okay, so that completes the demo this morning. I'm now just going to pass you back to Rachel just to finish off here. So many thanks.
Okay, so thanks Vicky for the demo. That was great. Again, we will be sending out a recording of the webinar and a number of useful links to everyone. So here's a link to book a demo if you would like one for the rest of your team. We also have a number of free auto-enrollment guides for payroll bureaus. As mentioned earlier, BrightPay are running a number of webinars in the upcoming months, so you can access them here. Also, don't forget to follow us on Twitter at BrightPay UK. And just to take you through the pricing of BrightPay quickly, our bureau license costs £199 plus VAT per tax year. And this includes unlimited employers, unlimited employees, free phone and email support, and auto-enrollment functionality. So we also have a 60-day free trial with no limitations to the software, so you can try it out for yourself. And at the moment, we also have a 50% discount for new customers when you switch from a different payroll software provider. And to avail of this discount, contact our sales team by phone or email and quote webinar50. So there's also a 50% discount for HMRC Basic PAYE Tools users. If you have any clients who process their payroll in-house, you can now pass on this offer to them. And the offer applies to new customers who switch to BrightPay 1516 standard license from HMRC Basic PAYE Tools or another payroll software provider for the first year subscription only. This means that employers can now get a BrightPay 1516 standard license for just £44.50 plus VAT per tax year. So don't forget there's also a free BrightPay license for employers with up to 3 employees. And BrightPay also now has a HMRC Basic PAYE Tools import, allowing you to efficiently switch over your details to BrightPay. So in our follow-up email, we will include a template that you can send out to your non-payroll clients to inform them of this offer. So just to take you through a few statistics here from a recent customer survey, we have a 99.3% customer satisfaction rate. 98.5% of customers are satisfied with customer support. 99.5% describe the BrightPay interface as user-friendly. And finally, 98.8% would recommend BrightPay. So I'd also like to mention that BrightPay are now a Tax Assist accountant's preferred supplier, and we have been accredited by the Institute of Certified Bookkeepers. So finally, for the questions, we have our Managing Director, Paul Byrne, here to help us take the questions. So there's a few questions coming through here. Okay, so are there any restrictions to the trial version?
Not at all. Everyone can download the BrightPay software, the full working version, on a 60-day trial. So there's no restrictions at all on this. We also have a sample company on the website as well, so if you just wanted to use a little test company, then yeah, that can be accessed in the support section of the website.
Okay. Does it do CIS?
Yes, we have a sister program, CIS Assistant, which is available to all BrightPay users free of charge for 2015-16, and the following years we hope to have it integrated actually completely into BrightPay for next year.
Okay. I assume we would also be notified if an employee pay dropped below the threshold 1 week.
Well, there is actually no need for the employer to be notified of that, because once an employee has become enrolled, the fact that they might drop below a threshold has no bearing on their actual status after that. It just means that there won't be any deductions or employer contributions if their pay is of a certain level.
Okay. Is it possible to upload the pension file directly from BrightPay?
Well, that's one we're actually working on at the moment. Nest have released what they call an API specification, and we are testing alongside Nest. Nest won't be releasing full API functionality until they hope before the January 2016 rush. So we will be in position to feed into that API at that stage. So what that basically means is that instead of having to download to create a CSV file and then upload it from within the software, you should be able to just press a button, much like RTI, and it'll effectively just transfer the information seamlessly to Nest without having to log into Nest and all that sort of thing. So yeah, it will be available. There are other pension providers who are also releasing API specs. So yeah, that's the ideal scenario, so that's one we're working towards.
Okay. What happens if the employer pays all of the pension contributions and the employee none?
I gather what we're talking about here is a salary sacrifice type arrangement, which is allowed for. Vicky, I don't know if you have anything.
Yeah, I think as long as you meet the minimum contribution, so which is the 2%.
Yes, yeah, precisely.
Yeah, we can cater for it. Yeah.
I think it's actually even handled in some of the specifications for the CSV files that they have a particular column in some of whether it's salary sacrifice or not. But normally it would be 1% employee, 1% employer to start off with the minimum contributions, but it can be 2% employer as well.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. You also mentioned about creating a CSV file for back payments of salaries. How is this uploaded to the bank? As when I asked HSBC, they said it couldn't be done.
Okay. Well, all bank files tend to work the same way. That first of all, the file's generated in the BrightPay software, and then the second step would be to upload it into your banking facility. So I guess they're all online now, are the uploading of the bank files?
Yeah, I know when I'm doing it myself that I basically log into the bank's portal, for want of a better word, and when I go into electronic payments, I have an option there to actually upload a file that's been created through another software package, in this case BrightPay. So it basically sucks it into the bank portal that it creates the payments from the CSV file. And I think all the banks may differ in terms of how they actually handle the individual files. Unfortunately, all the banks have different file specs. as well as that. But
definitely HSBC should be, we cater for them, so it's a little bit strange that they would say it couldn't be done. We can maybe look into that for you.
Okay. Are there any plans to offer a P11D option in BrightPay?
Yes, by the end of the tax year 15-16.
Okay. Can you have multiple users on BrightPay?
But it's not actually designed, well, you can have multiple users, but you wouldn't generally have multiple users accessing the one data or the one data file at the same time. It's effectively, like a multi-company product in that you can have many employers being handled by BrightPay, but not necessarily many users accessing the same employer. So I suppose it's effectively like a Word or Excel program that, you can have multiple files, multiple people actually using the software, but you generally wouldn't have multiple people accessing the one file at the same time. I don't know if that sort of covers it.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. How do you know if a pension scheme is AE compliant?
Oh, wow.
Check your pension provider?
Yeah. I know the pensions regulator has guidance on, what makes a pension scheme compliant for AE, but generally I suppose an employer or even an accountant wouldn't be, say, an expert in that area and wouldn't be qualified to really look into that. So really, if you're relying, I suppose, on the pension scheme themselves to tell you whether they're compliant or not.
Okay. And there's one last one here. Is it easy to test the software beforehand? Is there a test mode?
Yes, you can avail of the free trial, so you get 60 days free use from date of installation. And again, as we mentioned before, there is a sample company on our website as well, should you wish to use it. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that's the end of the questions there. I'd like to thank everyone for attending today's webinar, and we can send out the email with the recording and the useful links this evening or maybe tomorrow morning. So I'd like to thank Vicky for the webinar and to Paul. So thanks everyone.
Thank you.
Okay,
Bye.
thank you. Bye.